Welcome to the road to 1 million US dollars, and let's get right into the Bitcoin chart for today. We're going to start on the immediate short term for Bitcoin. Then I have something very interesting on this 4-hour time frame, and after that we're going to look at some higher time frames as well. As always, nothing in this video is my personal opinion. I am only sharing the objective technical analysis and nothing more. The first thing we should note is that right now Bitcoin is trading at this critical area of resistance right around this 92k level. We have faced this area of resistance many times over the past week or so. Therefore, if we are now breaking through sometime soon, this is going to be a bullish signal in the short term. And besides that, in the scenario that we are actually breaking through but then falling back down below again, that is actually going to be a big warning signal in the short term. Because notice how right here in the RSI momentum indicator, Bitcoin is in overbought territory, which typically means that there is limited room to the upside. So in that scenario I was just talking about, where we create a marginal higher high here, we then have to be extra cautious because there may end up being some kind of lower high in the RSI momentum indicator, and of course higher highs in the Bitcoin price in combination with lower highs in the RSI momentum indicator is what we call a bearish divergence, which typically plays out in the form of us getting a break from all of this bullish price action. However, for now, that is not the case. I'm actually talking about this well in advance. It doesn't need to play out like that. But of course, I want to show you guys everything that you need to look out for over the coming 24 to 48 hours. Now, something very, very interesting that is going on this 4-hour time frame is the fact that we are breaking this descending trend line that we have been below for over a month here. Keep in mind that on the 1-day time frame, technically we are still below, so I will get to that in just a second. But on this 4-hour time frame specifically, guys, we are now starting to see some potential reversal signals starting to show up. So this is absolutely something that we should be keeping an eye on here. However, keep in mind that 92k level of resistance that I just pointed out on the lower time frame. In terms of the RSI, that is not in overbought territory yet. So of course that 1-hour time frame is the immediate short term, 4-hour is just the short term here, and technically in the short term there is a bit more room to run. However, keep in mind that lower time frames are already pretty oversold at this point. Moving on to this 1-day time frame then, because notice how right here we are once again trading in this critical area of resistance, sitting from 90,000 all the way up to 92k. If we are getting daily candle closes once again above that 92k level, the next area of resistance above is already sitting from 95 all the way up to 96k in the Bitcoin price. Though it is going to be very important that we actually close above this 92k level. Otherwise, the potential of some kind of rejection is still completely on the table, given the fact that we are still in a technical downtrend on this daily time frame. In terms of the market structure, there's also something very interesting happening on this daily time frame, because notice how right here we have actually gotten a higher low above this previous low right here. So while previously we were just making lower highs and lower lows, now we have actually seen a higher low, which has been a long time since we have actually seen this. And if we are now going to create a new higher high as well in terms of these daily candle closes, then this is indicating that a trend change is on the table yet again. As always, I'm going to look for some kind of break of this descending trend line here. That in combination with actual higher highs in the Bitcoin price, that is actually one of those reversal signals that I am actually looking for. This is actually the first time that we are seeing a potential trend change since we were trading at 115k. So keep that in mind. This is a very important time to keep an eye on the charts. Now moving on to the Bitcoin ETF flow table. On yesterday we saw a very small net inflow of about $8 million. Almost nothing going on with these inflows here, except the fact that we are seeing inflows, while recently we just saw nothing but massive outflows while we were in this big downtrend here, right? Now moving on to the Bitcoin liquidation heat map. First of all, on this 1 month time frame, notice how right now there is a bunch of liquidity to the upside here, with most of the liquidity being at 98k. In the case that you don't know, typically the Bitcoin price gets attracted to where there's the most liquidity on this chart. So in this case, 98k is a bit of liquidity to the downside here, which I will show you in just a second on the lower time frame. But overall, most of the liquidity is actually actually to the upside. Therefore, it also makes sense to keep an open mind about this move to the upside actually continuing to run further, so long as we are not seeing clear invalidations, like for example, a break above 92K followed by a break back down below 92K, because this is going to be a big warning signal in the short term, right? And speaking of invalidations, I also want to show you this 3-day Bitcoin liquidation heat map, because there is a massive amount of liquidity here at this 90K level, which you can see right here. This was also previously acting as a strong level of support. However, especially with Bitcoin being in overbought territory at the moment on this lower time frame, the biggest warning signal that could possibly happen is if we end up taking out that liquidity, but then continuing to break lower from there, because this would signal that something else is going on in this market other than a simple uptrend like this. But to summarize here, the lower time frames are obviously just looking bullish at the moment, but there are a couple of warning signals to keep an eye on. However, this 4-hour time frame is starting to break this descending trend, and the 1-day time frame, while still being in a technical downtrend at the moment, is showing some potential reversal signals coming sometime soon. So this has been today's market update. Make sure to subscribe to the channel with notifications on, but regardless if you do end up doing that or not, thank you for watching once again, and I will see you tomorrow in the next one.